Hello, everyone. Welcome to the All Hands on Deck tournament. This is Saturday afternoon casting. We've got the Baby Blue Seals coming in on Team 1. We've got Fresh Dumbledore over there, who I believe is going to be the of course. We got Jar, Sultan Kiwi, and Gaming Royale. I believe that's, let's see, where is it? I forget what their name was for that. But yeah, we've Sultan Kiwi, Gaming Royale, Jar. That must be Dumbledore as ES on their team. Anyways, against them on the OSP side is going to be the Interstellar Mailing Company. We have got Iris, and we have got the Gnome Remover. We've got Serial Dreamer and Solus. So, these teams are playing this to 1,000 points. They have each got 3,000 points in their fleet. It is a nice little 5 control point map here on Yukon. You've got the BD side here, which is kind of dividing this map down the middle with this big ice rock, keeping that kind of isolated lane. You've got these 3 caps on this side. You can see a lot of C point and E point aggression, oftentimes a big shove for that. A point neutral shooting ground. Anything that goes onto that has better be prepared to take some incoming fire. See the ANS team here in the blue deploying fairly evenly across the map. Nice little seal tag. Star didn't set theirs quite the last second, but still nice little matching iconography here from the IMC. Both teams having their own little icons. I love the detailing and kind of the little bit of flag waving, little enjoyment to that. It's so nice to see that. Anyways, they'll be getting this game on before too long, so we'll give them good luck, have fun as soon as that goes. Seeing the OSP side currently deploying, looks like most of their assets fairly high. Got a couple of stuff going low towards the E point. No one doing any immediate massive shoves towards the E point or C point by the looks of it, but they'll still decide how they want to deploy and destroy each other. 1 minute to go on the clock now as the teams have properly locked in, decided on their strategy, and going to be going for it. Couple last second adjustments as they're deciding just where they want to have everything, and then they will dismantle each other over the next 30 minutes or so. So these games can go a little bit longer than that. You never quite know what you're getting into with some of these. Sometimes you get a quick 20-minute stomp. Other times you have a incredibly close game for 20 minutes, or not 20 minutes, 40 minutes and such. I'm getting my math wrong there. Anyways, there we go. Gnome Remover and Solus just doing their lasting adjustments. ANS has locked in, so the Baby Blue Seals will be taking the first little lock in there. So arbitrary internet points to them. All right. Any second now as we just start killing time. There we go. All right, first drive players, let's get through these fleets very fast here and talk about what we get and then see where we go from there. Starting off, we're going to see a Axford 450s on the front of this thing, Disco Ball Jammer on the side, most likely. Backpack, I believe, is size 3s on this. Could be torpedoes or hybrids, defenders on this thing. Let's go through these real quick and see what we end up getting. Please tell me if the audio levels are a little skunkly, as we'll quickly fix that. Anyways, 450 is Sealford here. We're going to see this thing has got gun plotting centers. Yep, basic CIC, reinforced in the nose, VLS3 of hybrids on that. Raiders and Whiplash drives to get this thing going quickly. Coming in from Jar. Jar accompanies this along with a hang-up vet over here. A little bit UR on this. Ooh, it's got jammers on the side too. Double blanket on that. Has to use a reactive booster for that. All right, cute little device there. Very fragile when shot at, but at the same time can provide some nasty UR. Finally, they've got themselves a beam goalie, going to be guarding the B point here. Just nice little beam on this thing. I believe chat box in the back, defenders on the side, jammer and bullseye on there. Does it have intel center? It does. Good intelligence there to provide to the team. That's going to be Jar's fleet. Let's see what Dumbledore, aka ES, has brought. We got a 450 battleship with a hangar backpack. What's in this thing? A couple of skiffs and a couple of some of those Pantos. 2 whips and a dragonfly on this thing, so not going to dodge that much, but definitely going to do a bit of work. Analysis Annex and Intel Center, they really want their intelligence. You only need one of these per team, so maybe a little bit of misallocation there, but we can definitely see some good work done with the Intel side. Better to have it than not, am I right? Anyways, Dumbledore's accompanying this with a Sarissa and VLS2 brick device here. And I'm asking, what if we don't take any caps? Well, you probably won't win the game. A couple of those anti-craft munitions and active decoys on this along with a spyglass. Nice little accompanying kind of picketing vessel there, see off some of the lighter threats of craft and such. Gaming Royale coming in here with, looks like a 450 Axford on the full size of this thing. Yeah, defenders all around, stonewalls as well. Got that bullseye on the snoot there. A couple of empty compartments. Have to make some sacrifices to afford everything on this, but looks like a fairly resilient device overall. It's accompanied over here by another Axford. If I had to guess, yep, this is the Parallax one. So giving up a little bit of this stuff, but still that's a nice Axford pair, able to present broadside, put a lot of fire downrange. Lastly, we got Sultan Kiwi coming in with another Axford here. Heavy tonnage on the ANS side. Got 450s on this thing, VLS2 backpack, a bunch of those anti-craft munitions and some size 2 conventionals. Raider drives on this thing, reinforced snoot. This thing is meant to brawl nose on. Nobody's skipping point defense today. We're seeing it accompanied by, looks like a bullseye and bullseye EWAR and a little bit of gun on that. The blind follower has no radar, living the same. Initial rollouts here as both teams are securing their naturals right now and going for their subsequent follow-up caps on the E and the C and E point, correction. Seeing over here, we got ourselves Mark 62 brick. Nice device there. Able to see off some of the lighter threats on the map and just Daka for a good amount of time. Another one of those going to be over here on the B side, securing that cap. Lastly, the spare parts is going to be going for the A-cap neutral, going to be screwing off here as we see Solace is sending a pair of shuttles over here. One has T-20s and a chaff box. The other one is going to be just a naked fringe capper, completely blank on everything here, just running this thing cheap as possible with no damage control teams. You see they have got a pair of shuttles there, backed up, looks like, by a pair of liners going to be looking towards the seaside, see if they get anything with that 450 broadside and container backpack that these guys are packing. Anything good in here? A couple of killjoys, just some support and some decoys as well. Looks like similar loadout on this one. Using the trick to put the pinpoint on the back over here. Interesting little tech there. Got T-20 secondaries to see off lighter threats. Solace was on the A point of the T-20. They have another T-20 capper just kind of hanging it back here. Probably stepped on the B point and then stepped off. We see one more of these things down on the E point, and then lastly, the naked capper on the A, exchanging the first shots of the game right there. All right, let's take a look at what else we got on this. We can see Solace. Oh, wait, hang on. That was Solace. Serial Dreamer. A lot of liners in this match. Okay, that's what's doing my head in. Yeah, more 450 liners with those backpacks. Very similar style. Might even actually be the same ships here, just renamed. Serial Dreamer coming in with these 450 ones. Looks like they're set on position fire, overwatching that kind of A point, looking if anyone's going to step over there. So Serial Dreamer got two of those things, 450 with the T-20 backups, very popular these days. Early warning tug, keeping an eye on the top of the map, does have a gun to see off some later threats at the pinpoint in case anything gets close. They are going to spot Jar over here. Here comes the initial aggression. Looks like some perch rockets coming out here, going to decide the A-cap there. Gnome remover coming in. It looks like they are on a container liner in the back here, but it's in the configuration to facilitate fighter craft, so that's the carriers. All of these deck gear lockers, big bulk magazine, flight deck traversals. Yep, this thing meant to get fighters off the deck as soon as possible. He has currently got a couple of skiffs going around here doing some scouting. A couple of these light strike fighters here. Got some rocket pods doing Barracuda goodness against those corvettes on the A point. This thing is currently still alive and is contesting the point, although it took some heavy hits into that reinforced drive. Not able to be broken by those rockets. Have to use something a little bit fiercer than that to take that thing out. Still going to hold the line a little bit here until something can hopefully clean that up. Let's see. Did we cover all of Serial Dreamers? No, they still had... Yes, they have a T-20 shuttle down here and a little naked shuttle. So very similar style here. All right, finally we have Iris over here who's going to be running their own 450 T-20 Bolt. These things are incredibly popular, like I said. Probably just the team deciding, well, we can run three of the same fleet and then back it up by a Gnome Remover's container liner here in the carrier setup. I have to call that like carrier liner. I'm always used to calling it the old CLN. Used the box for about better part of a year. 450 being exchanged here against Jar. Let's take a look as we watch all of those shots go very cinematically off into the distance there. Jar, in turn, going to be presenting nose towards target, giving that thin profile here. We do see that the Bloodhound is going to get this thing very accurate tracks, and the ship here is not moving, unfortunately. Jar needs to get that micro underway. Does have a radar drive that can do some good dodging, but is taking some hits here on the chin that they really shouldn't be. At this distance, you were mostly able to keep your orbit command going. Now we see them starting to evade, unfortunately, as after the salvo has hit them. The rest of Iris's stuff, they had that Bloodhound over here in conjunction with Serial Dreamer, using the early warning to get the area, and then the Bloodhound gets that fine lock. Lastly, I believe it's just going to be, yep, T-20 with a chaff box, and then probably Naked Capper. Am I right? Yes, I am. Nice to see that. All right, so that's all the fleets in a reasonable amount of time. 2-cap versus 2-cap has been secured here, so we're going to see how they end up developing. Team Gaming Royale down here trying to use, looks like 450 against shuttles. Not going to be the most effective there. Reactor Bloom on the A point from Sultan Kiwi. The spare parts is no more. That is going to do some damage here against the raindrop that fell. I'm amazed this thing is still alive, just barely hanging on with this device right now. If that was like 1% lower, I believe that CIC would be knocked out and the ship would not be able to cap. But unfortunately, right now, it is a singular shot from RPF. We'll see that thing off the cap point. But does ANS know that, and are they able to get into range? Unfortunately, there's no Mark 62s or 61s on this device. This thing is just running pure 450, so they are not able to knock out that almost dead capper. That thing is going to decide quickly the game's state here, as it will mean that OSP is going to take the initiative on the cap lead, and ANS will have to do something to get that back. Currently seeing the battleship now squaring off in the distance against these bulkers, putting some very accurate fire downrange. Nice thing about those battleships is you can get a gun plotting... Yeah, there you go. Pair of gun plotting centers onto this thing. Accurate fire from long distance means that these are going to do a lot against these bulkers presenting broadside and hanging out in open space. Do not want to be taking all of these HE rounds, seeing them already starting to bite into the broadside angle there. There we go. That's very common, seeing the drive section in the back here taking big hits. Already losing Rabbit Cradle. Starts to return fire with some 450, but looks like that's going to be going way off into the distance. Not sure what they're on about. Clearly having bad track quality issues here. Judging by that jammer, that they are firing this on the early warning signature and not able to really get on target until they can get that Bloodhound to swing over and lock it. The downpour over here is going to be putting some more shots against Jar as this front line kind of splits into two little angles there. We're going to see a little bit of jamming action going on. Thunderflight up here with the EO designator device trying to get some good accurate fire into this thing from 8 kilometers away or so. Frees up the Bloodhound to shoot at the targets over here and provide the well, required radar signature. There we go. That's what we're looking for. Starting to finally get some accurate hits on target. That is a lot of liner to square off against, but the battleship didn't hear no bell. It is just going to stay here, dodge dancing at range. Going to take a whole bunch of hits into the front of it, but most of these are going to either glance off of the armor or just otherwise be absorbed by the front stack there. So they're feeling pretty good about themselves. They've got Sultan Kiwi accompanying them as well. So Axford plus Battleship going to be putting some suppressor fire downrange. OSP kind of in a bad situation with this, as they want to be firing their shot, dipping back and behind cover, and then using their very strong repair ability. These things have a DC storage to repair anything that could be damaged in the complex to buff up those teams as well. So want to be making use of that, but unfortunately they're kind of angled in the wrong way, only getting 40% of their effective thrust going in this up and down way versus the 100% you can get going forwards and backwards. Liners very fast on one axis, not so much on the other ones. You see 4 liners there grouping up in this area as just kind of the topside shooting gallery develops. A couple of fighters looking around here, trying to see if they can find anything. They're holding off on their bombs. We do have perch rockets authorized, so fulcrum flight over here is going to be on the kind of air-controlled duty. Wait, hang on a second. Are these 35 or... Okay, it's just a different order there. Not sure why it's shaped like... Okay, so they just have some wake frag missiles here instead. These ones are used for jamming pods. All right. Take a look how things go. Yeah, the ACAP was very surprising on this, given that this was a ship that basically should not have gotten this off. Just like one little sneeze and this thing would have been dead there from that reactor plume if it was a millimeter closer or so. Jar looking maybe a little bit isolated over here on this cliff face, as their front line is currently developing over towards the seaside. Still able to get some flanking shots in and force the enemy back a little ways. Do not believe that there was a track-correlated spyglass anywhere on this team. This appears to just be... Where is your radar? There it is, a parallax in that thing. This is a just regular spyglass, and this one over here is just a parallax as well. So they will not be able to get their accurate 11-kilometer fire, but in turn they will be able to put some rounds downrange, and liners are fairly large targets. Seeing them now shooting at the battleship here, which is going to once again take a couple of hits. Little bit of a target priority issue there, as they probably want to be seeing off that Axford instead, much softer target and more susceptible to that incoming fire. Speaking of incoming fire, here's a whole bunch of 100 mil flak rounds trying to see off some of these size 3 missiles here. ARAD Axe Seeker is the combo. These are looking for this little ball of ships over here. These are currently going to get cleaned up pretty well by that incoming point defense. 4 liners PD is nothing to scoff at. A couple of AMMs being deployed now, and there is fighters on station. Look at all of that 100 mil flak going in there. That is going to just cause a... Yeah, that's going to be a full deflection there. No chance to sage at all. Do use up the AMMs, but still better safe than sorry. Couple more missiles over here looking towards the backfield. These look like they're just going to go straight into the rock. Unfortunately, not going to find the liners. Little bit of a misallocation in terms of the plotting. Probably was thinking that they were just a little bit slower than they were, or firing on track as they were moving there. Going to see over here. Let's check gnome remover. How much do you have? You've still got some bombers in here, we can see, and a couple of fighters as well, but still getting most stuff off the deck. We see a group of 8 bombers over here. These do have Spearfish and KB-22s, a very popular combination there. Hit them with the Spearfish and then follow up with the bombs after they're crippled. 3 bombs is pretty good here. That's generally as much as you can get away with without incurring major penalties. I believe this is like a 5% maneuverability, so this is going to be a big threat. If Jar does not see this coming, and it looks like they probably won't, as there's not going to be too much in the way of scouting over here. Broadside flight will be able to approach and then probably get through the point defenses here. Jar does have their hang-up escort, but has taken some hits here. They will be able to jam things out a little bit, but I don't think that's going to see off a major bombing threat like that. There's currently not that much in the way of air control on the ANS side, so if Gnome is able to get those bombers onto target, that can do a lot of crippling damage and take out one of the frontline assets the ANS has brought. But at the same time, the ANS has invested heavily into the beef quota. 4 Axfords and a battleship is no shortage of metal, so even if you do take out one of them, there will be groups to replace that on the front lines. Speaking of the front lines, let's see how this develops. As you can see over here, just the continual topside battle. We see those liners now rising up from behind cover there after taking a little break to repair. Going to be exchanging the full broadside salvos with the battleship nose here. Battleship continues to take this, but still at the range it's currently at and the ability to dodge somewhat, as well as just deflect incoming 450. This ship is pretty healthy and happy overall. Does lose some of its rebounds. Bullseye gets knocked out. Mount drivers as well, but still, this is not any significant amount of damage for a battleship like this. Is able to take these hits all day, every day, and just continue trading favorably here. OSP really needs to get that damage done, and they are currently not really getting it, as we see once again the battleship here. Although it does have very few teams, it is still just not really caring about any of these modules. It takes a couple of hits here and there. Thrusters might get booped a little bit. Some of those do actually find their way into the far back of the ship, hitting the whiplash drive, and the auxiliary up top take a hit or two. But given this is 4 broadsiders worth of firepower, you would hope to see much more effect on target. We want to talk effect on target. Looks like broadsword flight over here is going to be trying to find something. Let's take a look at these Spearfish rockets on approach as we watch. Is this going to be a deflection? No, it is not. Jar taking some pretty fierce hits there. Topside gun gets hit. Vulcan Magazine does get knocked down, but I believe they have a secondary. Yep, Reinforced still alive, keeping their Reinforced new towards enemy. Could have been a lot worse. Let's see what these bombs end up doing. Watch that damage control board as it flashes. Fortunately, the flak has been taken out, so a bunch of those are going to get through. There we go. That is the crippling strike that we were expecting to see with that many bombers getting off the deck. So Jar are going to be having a rough time on this side of the map, caught isolated with no nearby fighter control or anti-air defenses. They do see off a couple of broadsword flight there. As we see, there's down to just 7 of the original score of, or what was it? I think there was a dozen bombers here, or maybe I miscounted because they had split off. No, I must have been reading a Hustler flight or something along those lines. Either way, still able to see a couple of those bombers damaged, and now we're going to see the immediate follow-up punch. Serial Dreamer doing exactly what you should when you see a decided frontline fight like that. The opening exchange here, wounding the point defense ever so slightly, and then the bomber's able to get through. Now it's on to Serial Dreamer to just follow up and collect on this kill, making sure the expert is not able to put itself back together, as they are very hard to put down if you do not have an immediate follow-up punch like that. A couple of these anti-craft munitions trying to find Python flight over here. Python engaging somewhat themselves. There's a couple of nearby ships that could also provide point defense. We'll see if any of these STM-2s connect. There we go. One of them is going to splash there. Looks like failed damage roll on that ship is going to mean they only takes half damage, so still alive there. A couple of those STMs got to see off the various fighter craft threat against the main sort of front line developing on the seaside. Still, though, Jar going to be stuck isolated on this side of the map is not going to be good. That's most of Jar's assets there. They do still have a beam goalie that will see off this V capper threat, assuming it detects it in a moment. Should pop up just in a millisecond or two here. All right. Gnome CLN taking damage, apparently. Yeah, that is something worth noting. Looks like they may have suffered a missile hit or two over here. They have lost... Ooh, they got a magazine snipe. That's going to be big. They have to repair and restore that thing now. And that is only 2 restores on this. So this is one of the downsides of the carrier is that it's quite expensive. You can't take that much in the way of damage control. I can go with a large DC locker there to put out fires and stuff, but not much in the way of restoring. Sultan Kiwi tried to go into the D point there, but looks like they were seen off fairly early on. Serial Dreamer just really kicking Jar while they are down right now. This thing is getting skeletized pretty fiercely, not able to put up that much of a fight. Still trying to restore its stuff here, but unfortunately with this relentless fire that the OSP is putting down, it's not going to do much. In the meantime, though, looks like ACAP was achieved here. Gaming Royale looking to step onto the point briefly, secure it, and then step back off. But it does mean that we now have a 3-cap situation for the ANS. While this does mean that they get their 3-cap, what did they pay for it? Jar was having to be a distraction over here, and that is going to be most of Jar's tonnage in this game for the immediate moment. They saw their jammer vet was seen off, and their axe vet as well is going to be seen out there. So that's about 2,000 points worth of value right there. Beam Goalie is going to collect on its kill. Actually, yeah, this Beam Goalie is not even that expensive, so that's like more than 2,000 points worth of value there that is going to be seen off this game. A couple of fighter craft just kind of hanging out for the moment. Jar taking their sweet time to die over there, but does not have any restores as we see right now. Tried to restore any of their systems, but unfortunately, Relentless Forklift Fire will not allow that. Meanwhile, on the front line, we're seeing Iris continuing to try and pop away at shots here, but looks like they do not quite have the track that they want. Now they're going to go and change their target priority, trying to go out to Sultan Kiwi over here's Axford. But as it turns out, Sultan Kiwi is just going to be playing the evasive dodge stance game. As we see here, double Raider Drive keeps you very evasive, especially at that 9-kilometer distance. You have to keep yourself moving, though, as we're seeing this thing is drifting a little bit here. It's trying to move laterally here, so we should see it start moving up and down if I can get my perspective. A bit hard to say exactly what direction it's moving, but it should be able to dodge most of that 450 fire. Downpour, in turn, is seeing a lot of damage dealt to it, bringing it quite low in the front stack there. You can see the other one here, the Heavy Rain, has also suffered a couple of hits. Nothing quite crippling yet, but that damage is starting to add up. And ANS not really taking that much of it. The battleship here, in turn, even though it's light on the damage control side for a battleship, it is still looking pretty healthy overall. All of this stuff in the front is mostly ablative. Analysis Annex, magazine, you have a backup for that somewhere, I'd hope. Yep, double magazine on this thing, good stuff. All right, let's take a look. Fulcrum Flight over here. Singular Fighter going to be going around, seeing what it can find, trying to judge the defenses on that Beam Destroyer here in the backfield, see if they can line up anything. Maybe have Aurora Flight come over and then hit it with a strike of those R1 rockets. Also, KB-15 bombs carried on these things, able to do a follow-up strike on that. I think Sultan Kiwi going to be moving one of their cappers back here, maybe to see off some of these threats or otherwise provide some scouting over here. It's on Gnome to try and open up that B point for one of those little light cappers to go and take. OSP currently 422 on the board. ANS is 380, so they will be tying it up fairly soon. Jamming kicks on once again as this frontline fight just kind of continues to develop over these two rocks here. A lot of open space here that you can't really cross, and honestly, ANS doesn't really want to get that much closer. As long as they're in that 9-kilometer range to get themselves a fireable track or a good lock, they are pretty happy. Looks like some of these ones are getting jammed, but I don't see any of these. Oh, that one is going to be locked up. There we go. That is a bullseye on target there. Unfortunately, you can't see who is lucky what. Like we mentioned, Fulcrum Flight over here, looking around for something, not quite finding them, just kind of hanging out, loitering on station. Aurora down here might find it. Is the Vigilance detected? No, it is currently not. No, I'm just fishing around here. They know there's a beam destroyer, but they aren't exactly sure where it is. They're going to be trying to find this thing, see it off, and then aggress onto that point like I'd mentioned earlier. Meanwhile, you can see down here, nothing has been pushed towards E point, but there is a couple of these shuttles kind of lurking around. ANS very light on the lighter, faster assets here. Sultan TV has bled 2 of their corvettes, and JAR has bled their jammer escorts. So, in terms of capper assets in the late game, not going to be seen too much. There we go. Vigilance over here is going to be finding Fulcrum Flight, and they're going to be taking their jammer on towards Aurora. Are they seen right now? They are briefly flashed. There we go. Bit of detection as Fulcrum Flight kind of shifts around. They do know roughly where that ship is now, so we'll see if Vigilance is going to get attacked or not. Can I get a click on... there we go. So Fulcrum Flight has been joined together now. That's what they're doing, just tightening up the micro a little bit. Going to be trying to go with those jamming pods and the rockets here before too long. We'll see if they can get on target. They are looking to get on this thing. Is not currently detected. They need to get their radars onto it, but that jammer is doing a lot of work. Fulcrum straying dangerously close. Might go into defender range here. They're set very evasively on Hardburn. Trying to juke and dance here, see if maybe they can run out of point defense ammo. Hustler Flight also available in the backfield here, but this is just kind of kitted out for anti-air duty, not anything for the ground pound role. Gnome's like, oh, do your fighters aren't picking up the DD? Yep, that's what the jamming will do to you. You can actually jam out the craft radars, and if they're not able to kind of get in the right vector, they will not be able to see that. The question is, how long can they run that jammer for? This thing is set to battle short by the looks of it. I think it's trying to fire its beam at nearly point blank. There you go. One of Fulcrum is going to be almost beamed there. Fighter pilots dancing dangerously close to that as the 20 mil is continuing to go off. Gnome is trying for this and not quite able to find it. Looks like one fighter is going to break off the one very low fuel. There we go. A desperation play finally getting some of those rockets in. Not the greatest effect on target as the destroyer here actually just completely fine as the first perch rocket's not going to do much. But once they hit the flat facing there are going to, though. The beam will get knocked out. Still, though, they're going to run right into the point defense, and that's going to be all of the bombers gone. Just Hustler Flight now walking into this with their anti-air load. Nothing to strike against this as the beam destroyer is able to survive. You can fix that beam, although you don't have as much health bar. A little bit more perch rocketage just to try and punch them while they are wounded here. Not going to do too much, though. So still, in that case, JAR doing the correct move. They're trying to see off that fighter threat. Let's see if they're able to defend over there. I see a couple of these STMs being fired out now. It looks like another flight of bombers was trying to get up, and Menace Flight going to have some trouble here as they're taking quite a bit of damage on approach. One of them does get splashed by a couple of STMs there. So anti-craft munitions proving that they are still worth taking, even if you are not really trying to go for total sky control. You just want to see enough to get them off. That said, the broadside of the battleship is going to get found now. It looks like Serial Dreamer, knowing that JAR was completely destroyed on the side, is able to move up along the crest of Yukon there. Getting that 90-degree shot into the broadside of the battleship is going to be much worse. This thing was very tough on the front, but that broadside is a whole other situation because see the back and mid-section of the ship now taking some significant fire. 450 bulkers is something you can battle tank against, but the ones from the broadside are really going to swing this fight now as the ANS is getting bled on their capital assets. In exchange, OSP has not lost too much. They have taken some damage on both of Iris's ships here. The downpour is suffering a little bit, and the heavy rain taking the worst of it. But they're still doing pretty well overall. See just how things develop. There we go. Menace Flight going to be finding their way in here. It looks like a whole bunch of spearfish going off. Going to be finding their way into Gaming Royale's broadside, doing significant damage to small walkers, taking those out immediately. Magazine does get redded, and there is a bulk mag 2 backup, though, so still able to see off some of that with the flak there. Flak very effective against follow-up bombs. Menace Flight in turn getting bled pretty badly here, down to just 3 of the original. I believe it was 7 or 8 fighter or bombers rather. A couple of these size 2s, these are going to be CMD Hodge, see if they find their way home. Nope, point defense is going to pick those off with some AMMs as well. Good crossfire coming in here from Serial Dreamer, who's able to get that shot raining down there, seeing all of those raining towards the battleship here. Long distance gaming as both teams have just invested heavily into 450 and then a little bit of the lighter 100 and 120 calibers. BCAP is going to be going off now. It's on JAR to try and get their gun put back together, but is actually going to be taken out here by the 20 mils. Just enough damage there with it being redded out to probably boop that thing snooch. Still, once this thing gets repaired, it will be able to see off this threat and then step onto the point without too much to contest it at the current time. So, though, nice aggression there, boxing in the ANS, forcing them into this kind of C point and A point areas here, constricting them on the map here. They're able to pick off isolated assets using the mobility of that carrier liner over there. Going to land a bunch more of their fighters, see what else they can bring out. Ajax Flight is airborne spearfish and bombs on this thing, so it might be going towards JAR in the backfield there. Take a look over on top of the map here at the seaside. You can see once again the battleship trying to present a battle tank against Serial Dreamer, although in turn they're presenting broadside. That 90-degree ambush, like we described before, is very fierce against ANS ships that want to keep their bow towards enemy and just tank fire all day using the dodging of radar drives. Sultan Kiwi as well looking okay here in the backfield. Mainly, this is going to be OSP's games. They've dictated the pacing of this and have secured themselves a 3-cap once again. We're into the third quarter now as we are playing to 1,000 points in the map. So we'll see both teams now in the 570 and 562 marks respectively. Beam Destroyer does get its beam back up online and will see off the threat here in turn. Just going to be gutting out the CIC on that one, and also going to be this one taking a lot of fierce damage. Still, chance of precipitation is going to be coming up here, trying to get into the rear arc of the ship. It does have a Dragonfly drive, so it can turn, but still, it's going to be very hard to try and turn a destroyer that fast when you have a ship this close to you, able to just kind of sit on the rear aspect, possibly knock out the drive in turn. Destroyer is very good when they can get their beam on target, but when they're run up like this and don't have secondary defenses, they can be quite vulnerable. Might have to see a light asset to divert it over to defend them. The Erebus here has been taking a lot of damage after it suffered that rocket strike. Serial Dreamer relentless with following up on those. Bunch of 450 going down range. We're seeing Solace over here giving the full broadside experience as well into the nose of these ships. They're not having the best accuracy at this distance. A couple of those shots going wide, possibly suffering from some radar issues. Do not see the Bloodhound on target here. Dazzler might be in range. Hard to say exactly which one is dazzling. We don't have a dazzle indicator here, unfortunately. This one is actually completely off track, so it's just going to be you who is detected after all. All right. Bloodhound is actually inactive right now. Looks like it must have lost its track for a brief moment or stepped off there. We'll see if it ends up getting back on target or not. Still, OSP is pulling ahead now as they've got that 3-cap. Still, good to see Jar trying to step onto the point and re-secure this. They're attempting to jam out targets in this area. See Ajax Flight here now on approach, going after Jar's isolated assets. Remember, the support game is to isolate and eliminate. See what you can break off from the Anus formations and then isolate alone with these very, very nice R3 strikes, followed up by KB-22 bombs. Relentless T-20s coming in here from all these shuttles just scattered around the map. There's not that much in the way of capper assets or anti-light on the side of ANS. They did elect to go for a lot of anti-capital, but unfortunately, they're just not really winning the frontline fight that they had chosen to take, and unfortunately, just going to see them bled on a bunch of their flanker assets. Ajax Flight is going dangerously close here for their strike, possibly making a mistake here. There goes the Spearfish. Are they going for the bombs as well? Spearfish are going to be finding their way in. There we go. Dragonfly and Reactor has been knocked out. This thing is kept alive by CIC, but we're going to see these bombs have something to say about it. A couple of them going to strike there. This thing is structure broken. That will be a knockout there, so B point is going to go into the hands of the OSP comfortably. AN is now entirely relegated to 1/8 of the map. If we divide this thing into the respective quadrants, you can see it over here in this arc. They're going to be isolated into this area, and they're pretty much just on top, so only seaside. So let's keep trying to make a play over here towards E point, see if they can walk one of their cappers onto it. Vulture Flight is nearby with Perch rockets to potentially see that off if they detect it. Going to be not looking so great for the ANS. If they want to win this one, they need to take a favorable fight, and they need to do it soon, as these points are rapidly closing in towards that fourth quarter. Bastion Flight is escorting Dozer over here. Yeah, Gnome just relentless in the skies this game. That 3K Moorline uncontested by enemy fighter craft. Going to be trying to get some more of these R3 KB-22 strikes going in here. It's like Gaming Royale has dipped behind cover, so they might be able to catch these by surprise, assuming that their 20 mil and their 50 mil Stonewall flak guns can get into them. Let's watch them come around the corner like this. Casually fishing for thumbnails. There we go. Stonewall is going to kick on. Stonewall's very effective against these Barracudas and the incoming bomb strike accompanying. See just what they end up doing. Dozer is going on target, trying to commit here, but looks like a couple of them going to get splashed on approach there. 20 mil's starting to fly into this, going after the fighters instead of the bombers. Still, bombers, though, not quite committing on target. They are thinking twice, turning away right now. Possibly they have lost their tracks in question. Yeah, they don't even see these ships at all that are tearing them a new one. Dozer Flight reduced to half their strength. Fortunately, do not have the Halberds-class skiffs nearby to provide radar coverage to get them the locks that they want. There we go. Spearfish rockets from nearly point blank, going to find their way into the midsection of the Erebus. A couple of those bombs going to be deflected, like we said before, with that Stonewall. Very good against those bombs. Dozer Flight looking like they're going to get totally cleaned up there. So Erebus does get a punch in the teeth once again, although most of that stuff was reinforced and is not able to be knocked out by that strike. Just give them a little bit of time. They will put themselves back together, and that's going to be 4 Barracudas and 4 of the Sturgeon bombers taken out from Gnome. Obviously, Gnome have left in the bank. They've got currently 4 bombers in the air. Only 1 bomber actually getting off the deck here, so 5 bombers in total going to be going up here. That's what they got for the anti-capital. Still, though, has it been enough? They've taken out Jar completely in the game. They have bled out 2 of these little capper corvettes here. OSP currently sitting on a 3-cap situation here, so this is going to be something that the ANS did not want to allow them to hold. Can the wounded Axerts here step onto the A point and re-secure themselves a lead, or is there too much up here? The 450 bulkers being relentless now. Not quite in position to follow up on the strikes that were provided. The Erebus here is taking a little bit of time to get itself back under command. Only that reinforced CIC here had to give up some things in order to facilitate taking the back gun and associated stuff here. So Nebulous is a game of trade-offs. If you want to get the best loadouts, you have to make sure that you are giving up a little bit of points somewhere, and looks like they gave up a bit of redundancy, such as the aux steering or ammo elevators here. In turn, the Terror is still pretty healthy and might be able to actually step onto the A point here. And then the question is, if you're able to secure that 3 cap and then hold it, do you hold out just long enough to win the game? Remember, it does not matter how beat up your team is. As long as you can get to 1,000 points before the enemy team does, you will secure victory. Night Flight here is airborne, headed towards the bottom of the map. As we saw there, the ECAP did go off. Assassin here, equipped with the 100mm gun pods, very effective against lighter assets like this, but still they're walking a little bit close here, potentially entering defender range. We'll see just if that ends up happening or not. Could see the RPF rounds doing a little bit of work here, just kept tickling away at these bombers right now, but if they enter that range of the 20mm defender here, then they are going to be very, very upsetty. There we go. 20mm going to kick on now as Assassin is going to be running right down the gun. There we are. One of them is picked off. The other one is dangerously low on ammo. Not quite able to get the kill on this thing. They do snipe the magazine here. And then, no, actually, they snipe the small locker. And the magazine is looking pretty wounded still. They're getting dangerously close there. And 20mm is looking for that thing if it can find it. Additionally, we notice the 100mm gun pods have been exhausted, so they have to go back to the carrier and rearm. Could see Solace, since the chance of precipitation returns over here, if Hugin is able to fight against that. His magazine is currently crippled, so is not able to fire its guns. Speaking of crippled, let's check on the Erebus back here. It is slowly putting itself back together. The Axeroid's very good repair power there on display. Small workshop in combination with the extra repair powers of the Axeroid means it can put itself back up to the orange state here. 27 on those guns, 28% on the nose reinforced lockers, CIC 25%. So yeah, if you don't put down an Axeroid, it will put itself back together. See the battleship now rotating itself over. Battleship took heavy damage, losing the front guns here. Light on damage control, like we said, so it had to make sure it didn't take that crippling damage. And unfortunately, a broadside catch there from Serial Dreamer is going to do a lot against it. You can see the lone Axeroid here is going to get shot from a nice little, kind of an L-shaped angle there. Best way to describe it. Not the best on the angle exactly, but about a 45-degree split there. So still able to catch this thing in the broadside, relatively speaking, from below there. Yeah, it's going to be taking a lot of those hits on the chin. Mark 68 gets knocked out, only 2 restores in these things, so they've taken a lot of damage previously. 450s in turn going to be trying to do something against these 450 bulkers, but looks like OSP came ready to fight Capitals, and they certainly have. Gnome hitting up all of those bombers to do anti-heavy capital duty, and they have been getting some very good purchase all game. In turn, the rest of the comp has just been 450 liners out the wazoo, so they are basically perfectly situated to try and take this capital war that ANS decided to give them. Couple of these missiles coming out here, just a trio of size 2s, not the greatest against capital assets like this. We can see these find very good purchase into some of the lighter stuff like shuttles, but unfortunately, just trying to fight against a intact point defense like this, I don't think these are going to do anything. A couple of these ACT AMMs going to be coming out here, pick off 1 or 2 of these. There you go, pop 1, other one is not going to take the hit there. See if these are picked off by those Pavises. Interesting. Okay, not electing to use the... no, Warbler Jammer was turned on there. I think it just wasn't quite in time, or otherwise maybe just finding a home on Jam. I think Killjoys were deployed there. Those were command with Hodge secondary. I'm actually very surprised this managed to get through. Double Warbler here. Should have seen those jammed. Interesting stuff. Either way, still a size 2, not going to do the most damage. Does red out the mag briefly, but redundant magazine on this is very powerful. ECAP is going on now. Serial Dreamer has moved on to the bottom of the map over here with the Mist, the little naked shuttle that could. We're going to see the chance of precipitation over here going to be relentlessly hunted down the Hugin, which in turn has obviously lost its main thruster as is tradition. I swear you look at a Corvette and lose the main thruster. Magazine continues to remain redded out as they're trying to fight here, but just unfortunately not able to fire back. And the continuous the T-20s with the 100mm rounds are going to be doing something about that. A couple of these fighters and bombers just kind of occupying the midsection of the map. We see Sultan Kiwi trying to step onto the A point with one of the few Corvettes remaining on the ANS side, see if they can get here or not. Going to see in turn Highball Flight here has a bunch of KB-22 bombs. Splinter is nearby designating target to provide that very accurate lock. Ardent Flight in turn has their own KB-22s and R3 loadouts. Well, they're going to be taking some Sarissa fire from the battleship up here. Fresh Dumbledore does still have their air defense assets. Eyeball is looking like they are going for it right now. They are on target, seeing if they can get in range here. This thing only has a Mark 61 to defend itself. Does not have any point defense. That's going to be an immediate smack right into the nose and deflection off of the 8-point aggression. One singular fast mover asset left on the ANS side as they've just been slowly bled out this game. 900 points on the board for the OSP, 790 for the ANS, looking pretty decidedly in OSP's favor. ANS trying to take a fight there across the top, but just not unfortunately able to get some good effect on target. OSP largely running to the bank with it this game as they've just been able to dictate how the game is played using that very good air control play from Gnome Remover there. It's facilitated by the resilient frontline and other lighter assets that each of these players have brought. Very good evening the micro across all these players. They're each able to micro some of these individual shuttles and keep their 450 bulkers firing. Nice little way to see that rather than the kind of dedicated frontline or capper fleets, you see kind of more in the discrete fleet roles. Erebus trying to make its way onto the point now. Annis knows they need to do something, and desperately soon. They are needing to get, I believe, a 5 cap in this state, as they're just doing the math here right now. Yeah, they need to be either 4 capping or, in a second after these ticks go through, 5 capping. I think OSP has this pretty handily in the bag when I see a strike going off here. A couple of those Wake missiles going to be finding these skiffs, as well as all of this 35mm jet. They're going to clean those up very handily. Here's some KB-22s on station, smacking into the top of the Erebus there. That is going to be crippling damage. This thing is completely gutted, save for the Raider drive there. Just short of knocking that thing out, as more bombs going to walk their way in. Still does not manage to actually break it there, as the structure broke has not gone through, but... Well, actually, no, the structure broke went through. I'm not sure why it didn't migrate into it. Either way, the ship is dead, done, and dusted, not under command. Game morale trying to move over to the D point. Fortunately, OSP just going to close it out in this Game 1, looking like it will go to the Interstellar Mailing Company, who came with the fighter craft and had a very good plan to dismantle some of these ANS heavy capitals that ANS elected to bring. Dude, broadside coming in here from Serial Dreamer. Again, keeping the battleships forced into battle tank one of these various kind of groupings of liners, while the other one is able to get that delicious shot into the broadside there. GG, well played is called. As be saying GG there, that will be the end of Game 1 here on Yukon. Will go to Interstellar Mailing Company on the OSP side. Still, 200-point deficit only for the Baby Blue Seals, so they gave them a good run for their money and made them work for it at the very least. Gnome in turn getting some very good damage dealt here, seeing all of those Spearfish and KB-22s, the anti-capital duty that you love to see from those carriers. Still on the front line, though, we saw Fresh Dumbledore put in some good legwork there. Gaming Royale, unfortunately, not quite finding the shots that they wanted to that game, just unfortunately getting a little bit zoned out and not having the sustained fights that the ANS wants to be taking. Any target that they shot at was able to dip behind cover, repair, rearm, and then re-engage, as the OSP likes to do with their liners, scuttling them around like crabs. Jar here, unfortunately, got isolated along the top of that B shelf. They're only able to do just shy of 3k. So yeah, the BD push is a thing you can attempt, but you have to make sure you go supported when there's threats like those carriers on the board. See, Sultan Kiwi got some respectable damage as well, but again, just never quite getting the fights that they wanted for that. We'll ready up in a moment and get into the next game, but yeah. Iris able to do some respectable damage there and take a little bit as well. They got the worst of the ANS's frontline aggression. Serial Dreamer catching those very nice broadside shots here. 10,000 on both of these liners. Light capper assets just doing a lot here, as ANS was very light on the cappers this game. See, Solace here able to get just a little bit, not the highest like standout damage numbers here, but most of this was just to enable Gnome Remover to be that swinging factor there. Goes to show what having a very good support player on your team can do, swinging the frontline engages. Remember, frontline ships like these, frontline fleets like these broadside 450 liners against something like Axfords and battleships, their job is to engage the enemy and hold their attention while the bombers then swing that fight, coming in for the later stages for the final knockout blow with that 450 to break anything the R3 or KB-22s did not. Anyways, we'll be going into the next match now, as we'll do a 3-minute break.